This is the Night Owls Disc Golf Podcast. I'm Shane.
And I'm JP.
And French Toast JP.
French Toast.
All right. Door_disc_golf. Night_owls_pod. That's both Instagram. And then doordisc.com. For all your disc golf needs, go there. We have everything that you could possibly need for disc golf. And if we don't have it, it's probably just because it's out of stock.
Or it's sitting in Shane's garage, which isn't on the website yet.
Exactly. We don't have a big enough place for all the stuff we got.
Right.
But that might change. Bless you.
Thank you.
French toast.
French toast.
All right. So how do you feel about the sanctity of your word when you give your word?
I would say I feel pretty good about it.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, I like to follow up my words with action pretty much. Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Yeah. I don't know.
You don't know how you feel about it?
Yeah. I guess that's how I feel.
Okay. So I bring this up because of players and their contracts.
Okay.
And I think not only contract is written word, but I think disc golf over the years, and I think they still exist, are these handshake deals.
Yes. Okay.
And most notably, the one that I think of when I talk about stuff like this is Paige Pierce.
That's what came to mind, yeah.
So was a handshake deal for 5 years, if I remember rightly. Or was it 3 or something like that?
It's in that ballpark.
Sure. Yeah. So it was a considerable amount of time for a disc golf contract. Mm-hmm. And she left about 1.5 years into this.
Yep.
From DD and went to Discraft. Good move for her, no problem, no issue. Jeremy Rusko has come out and said that, hey, we never had anything in writing. It was a handshake deal. That's how we've always done things. So
I feel like Innova operated like that for a while too.
I'm sure. Yeah, I'm sure basically everybody did. Maybe aside from Prodigy because they did their whole ownership thing, and I'm sure they had to have contracts for that. So do you think that there is something wrong inherently with leaving contracts before the contract is up or announcing that you are leaving before your contract is up?
Okay. I think you have an obligation to your contract as long as you're still within it.
Okay.
Right? Like, yes, like you may know that you're leaving, but as far as representing that company and everything that goes with it, you're still under contract for set amount of time.
Right.
And I feel like that's that should be honored.
Right.
Okay.
And whatever obligations that contract requires.
Yes.
Okay.
Right. Yeah. Fulfilling everything that is within the contract. Okay. So this comes up because we're in the off season. A lot of these new deals that are being put out are definitely being talked about during the season when players are still within contracts. Right. Now, if this was another sport and you had a team approaching somebody's agent or there's talk, that would be considered tampering.
Right.
And like someone like the New York Knicks just recently, Jalen Brunson from the Dallas Mavericks had signed with them for this year, like as a free agent. There's connections between his father, who's with the Knicks, and like he's good friends with his son's agent. So there's kind of like rumblings of like getting word and
kind of throw up the air quotes inside trading. Yeah,
inside. Yeah, exactly. And they were draft. I didn't read the full story, but they were going to get docked draft picks. Obviously, like there's nothing in disc golf kind of like that. But
there is a difference. We'll just point it out to be clear, but we're just making comparisons for comparison's sake. There is a difference because they're playing for an organization. There's a team, a true team. Yes. Whereas, and there's a draft. There's a league that supervises these things. Exactly. So we understand the differences. We're not naive to those.
I'm just trying to make the comparison of like tampering within within the sport. Now we'll talk more into it later on with like our speculation stuff, but there needs to be like a true free agency period where your contract runs out And then that's when negotiation starts. But the problem is right now is that disc golf's off season is relatively short. I mean, a couple months, from that October. Some people are even playing into November now with these newer Silver Series and like the wraparound season and everything.
Right. Yeah.
So, I mean, at the end of the day, I do think that players should honor the contracts that they're in until it runs out, and then, I mean, you can announce that. I think you can announce that you're leaving, as long as everything's fulfilled and you're not already announcing something new until the expiring contract.
Yeah, I would agree. I like the idea of having a sort of free agent period. I like the idea of trying to make some sort of season of contracts.
Yeah.
And maybe not making them 12-month contracts, maybe making them 10-month
Yeah.
or 9-month contracts, whatever, however long it takes you to get through. Now, you can sign a multi-year deal, but at the end of your deal, so it's going to be 4 years and 9 months or 4 years and 10 months, not a 5-year contract. So you have that open free agency period.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that would be a fantastic idea. I guess, so for my opinion, I guess, yes, I have a problem with not living up to someone's end of the bargain. But I have a problem with that even with my employees. And I'm fine saying that. I say that to my employees. Like, if we have an agreement, the only obligation you have is to live up to that agreement. I don't expect you to do anything more. I don't expect, anything like that. But I do expect you to just live up to that portion of your agreement. And in that, there's a trade-off. I give you compensation for living up to that portion of the agreement. And I think in disc golf, that's just completely lost in it. And I think the problem is that we continue to refer to them as sponsorships. I think we need to change the terminology to endorsements. Because I don't think it's sponsorships. I think we're truly just endorsing these players.
Okay.
Right? Because they're not on a team. We keep using these terminologies that just don't fit what they are. I think they're truly endorsements.
Okay.
So, and
well, I think a sponsorship now, it's more of like Nike. Well, Nike has sponsored athletes, right? Like with shoes. But that's also kind of an endorsement.
That's an endorsement. Yeah. That's still an endorsement.
Or what if it's like Johnsonville and the Packers? Like that Johnsonville's like, because they're paying for maybe something at the stadium. They're paying for advertising. Like
those are sponsorships. Yeah. So I would look at something in DG Max Wax wants to sponsor our show, and they get a segment in our show.
Yes.
And not saying they do, but I'm just saying, or I don't know, like Discraft wants to sponsor a segment in our show. Clash wants to sponsor a segment in our show. They're not endorsing us because they're not standing behind us. They're just saying, please promote our product.
Right.
So I think there are sponsorships on athletes, like I'm sure, like we sponsor athletes as Door Disc Golf because we basically just say, hey, like, just rep our brand.
Yeah.
That would be fantastic. We're not asking for them to do anything for us. But yeah, so I think terminology is just something that may need to be changed. And I think we can get away from some of these little nuances that make us see or make us feel that they're teams.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Okay.
That's the only thing I can think of. So we've just got a text from Jordan, our random question generator for the most part. House of Dragons is one of the biggest bull crap and disappointments of all time. I will have to wholeheartedly agree. I watched the first 2 episodes and stopped.
Really?
Couldn't handle it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I have not started it yet.
Yeah.
I shall.
Like completely just like, man, it's not even on my radar anymore.
Okay.
So it is what it is. All right. So what'd you get? Thrower, hanger, or flipper?
being that it's Christmas in a couple of days, right around the corner, I honestly haven't bought anything. My labels were generated today for my paradigms, which I talked about last week getting with the whole Discmania situation in the mystery boxes.
Yep.
Black mystery boxes were announced today
I saw
to come out 2 days after Christmas. There's going to be...
And you can buy a bundle with a red box.
You can. Okay. Yeah. If you wanted to. For like $170 or something like that. So you're getting a discount on the red box. But you have to pay for that. Or maybe it's not. No, I think...
it's similar.
It's similar.
Maybe a couple bucks.
CD1s are going to be in there for sure, which is just a remade CD. The numbers are the same as the CD2. They just kind of renamed it. Maybe there's some measurements, that are a little different. Right. So maybe it won't fly the same.
Yeah. Well, because they do not own the molds, so they're recreating all these molds. So
perhaps I'll buy one. I will speculate that I may buy one.
You'll buy one. Come on. Let's be real.
I mean, there will probably be plenty left.
Yeah.
So
I think being that it's a CD2 clone, I will probably purchase one too, because that was without a doubt my favorite control driver.
It's really good. But I feel like there's so many control drivers in that, like the Lariat, the Dynasty, the Escape. There's just a plethora of 9-speed control drivers out there.
Yeah.
I'm like, I have a lot of them at home.
Right.
So yeah. It just depends which one I throw in my bag.
Well, and I even have a couple CD2s downstairs. I just simply don't throw them. I don't know why.
Yeah.
Well, it's because I bag the Lariat is why I don't throw them. Yeah, like the Thunderbird. I mean, yeah, there's so many of them out there, But I agree. I just have this fondness of CD2s, and I think it's because there was a period of time, and it was actually when we first started Sister Bay League, where I aced like every other week, and a majority of those came from CD2s, and it was just incredible. And not on Sister Bay, but just at random courses. I mean, I was just lighting. I mean, I think I had like 14 aces in that year alone. And I was just lighting it up. And CD2s were part of that. I mean, I think I had like 4 aces on one CD2, and the other CD2 I left in the basket after I aced. But they're great discs. I'm probably going to be severely disappointed because everything is considerably overstable than the original runs that I've noticed, which is good for the pro players, or I'm just getting that much weaker.
Sure.
But I can throw one OG FD next to a new FD. They're not the same disc. I mean, they are, but the new FD is much more stable than original C-Line. So thrower hanger flipper, I did not. I received the Innova Christmas disc.
Yeah.
But outside of that, I didn't really purchase any discs. We did purchase a building that may or may not house door disc golf. We might move it into it or may not. We're not 100% sure yet, but we'll have those conversations and see if there's a thing. But it would be a very nice, very roomy building for door disc golf, where we could do a lot of indoor activities and room for a bunch of activities. Like
you could house your discs.
Could house all the discs in one shop, plus have a room for driving range and social area and all that stuff in this one building. So I think it would be beneficial, but we'll see. We got to weigh out the pros and cons and figure out what everybody wants to do. So that would be a hanger? No, that would be a flipper.
I know, I was just going to say that.
It would be a flipper because it is basically a giant old brownstone building.
But it could also be a hanger because you're going to hang a bunch of stuff on the walls.
Oh, definitely will hang a bunch of stuff on the walls. So, all right. So go over the preview. So I'm going to just quick address a email from I'll put up the air quotes fan, and then we'll do some player speculation, and then we'll go over a random question, and then shop updates. And when we do our player speculation, we will bring on Ben Karowski, who is the infamous writer of the tweet that exposed Emerson Keith to Lone Star.
Yeah.
Going to Lone Star. So let's get into it. So
he didn't get enough credit.
He did not. But we'll give it to him. We'll give him a chance to get it. So, email from Fran for AJ. So this is, I'm bringing it up one more time. The transgender talk and rules and everything. So AJ was an individual that I had many back and forth emails with, and I just want to publicly say I appreciate the conversation and discord and the back and forth that him and I had. I didn't talk about his email as much as I would have loved to, just simply because I felt like we were beating a dead horse. I think we had talked and talked and talked over this thing, and I don't think there's any expertise or levity that we can bring to the subject any more than someone or than has already been, So I think we decided to just kind of cut the conversations about it, but that does not it doesn't diminish the benefit and the impact that AJ's emails had on me personally. Having good conversations and having very open, never once was I discounted for what my thoughts were, and hopefully never once I discounted him for his thoughts. Kind of left him on red, just saying after the conversation came out, I was just like, I haven't had enough time to process and give my true thoughts about it, because he kind of reported back with what his thoughts were about it, and because he has a trans trans brother.
Okay.
I'm 99% sure that's what it is. And he just reported back on how he felt and his brother. Okay. So, and then I just said, thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. And then I just let him know that at this point, I just don't have, at the time, I didn't have enough to really have a good rebuttal or have a good conversation about it at that point, because I hadn't read anything yet. So, but with that said, AJ, thank you very much. Know that, like I said, I appreciate your emails, and hopefully we can continue to have some good conversations.
Nice.
All right. So other than that, let's get Ben on. All right. We have Ben Kurowski on the line for our player speculation segment. So Ben is important because he is the Twitter leak that Hunter Thomas from Foundation Disc Golf on, where did he leak that? Was that Grip Lock podcast?
Yeah, so I tweeted at him, he picked it up, and then mentioned it on this week's Grip Lock.
Right. So it was broken here first, just so you know. But
because we talked about it, like we speculated.
Last episode.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and then I texted you guys insider info.
Yep.
You got the exclusive.
Yeah. And we have some more speculation going to go on in this episode with other players that we have Instagram stalked a little bit and played with their minds and not gotten direct answers, but direct enough answers from. So we'll talk about those as well. But I want to get your full story on Emerson Keith. But before we do that, I'm just going to go over basically what we have for player movements. So contracts that we've seen. So Kyle Klein will go back over 4 years. Calvin Heimberg, 5-year. Nicola Castro is now with LSD, so with Lone Star. Paige is leaving DD. We still have no idea where she's going to land. Macy Valadiaz, Emerson Keith is confirmed to Lone Star. We'll come back to that story just today, just a couple hours ago. And then Anthony Rubrella has left Innova.
Yeah.
And then Maria Oliva has left Innova. Lisa Fakis has left Innova. Stacy Ronsley has left Innova. And James Proctor has left Innova. Okay, Erica Stitchcomb has left Westside, and Scott Withers has left Discraft.
I'm sensing a theme like last year, leaving Innova.
I was pretty critical on Innova, and I think this is just pointing towards it more and more and more. What's your thought on that, Ben?
I think you can look at it either one of two ways. I think that there's just group of people right now that are, looking at this is that Innova's not willing to pay anybody, nobody's worth it to them in their eyes, or then you can kind of look at it in the complete opposite way, and is that I've started to kind of think about in a different light now, and what I'm kind of leaning towards is that I think Innova, for lack of a better term, is just trimming the fat. I think when you look at like their number of teams that they have and the number of human beings on these teams, and I think we're all I very much understand that these tiers are different of like what these people are actually getting. But I think that that's kind of where they're at right now is that, yeah, there's some people that are definitely leaving on their own accord. And then there's like obviously a bunch of people that maybe weren't necessarily looking to truly leave anywhere.
Mm-hmm.
But I think AB falls into that category of like, I would have stayed. But I think that there's a lot more of these people that are leaving Innova, maybe not so much on their own accord. And it's Innova just kind of tightening up kind of the number of people that are being sponsored and kind of where things are falling.
Okay.
I would agree with that.
Yeah. Well, I think maybe this year, I think there is a long history of this happening every single year. Mm-hmm. So that's the only reason I can't completely buy into that line of thought. I think Innova has just a cap of what they are willing to pay players to throw their discs, because they know they have a line of 4,000 or 5,000 other people that they're going to be able to choose from. And so I think in a sense, yeah, they're trimming fat, but in a sense also, they don't think their players are worth that much.
Unless you're Calvin or like,
yeah, exactly,
those people. Yeah.
And even them, I mean, I bet you if they switched manufacturers, I bet you they'd pull another zero.
Sure.
Well, I think the biggest thing is that Innova is the biggest secret in disc golf. They don't let anybody know in on anything except for term length.
Mm-hmm.
So I think unless you're Jeff Panis and Dave Dunapace, they're really apparently the only ones that know their dollar amount and what they're willing to spend.
Right.
And I think what I've alluded to with you guys before is it seems like this Calvin deal might have had a bigger ripple effect than we truly know, because it seems like they're not willing to work anywhere on this dollar amount. Like, it just seems like, from what I've seen in my obviously my own opinion, is that this dollar amount is a dollar amount, and it's not fluctuating. So guys like AB are not falling in on that dollar amount.
Yeah. And I think Innova over the years has had some inconsistency with their players and the team levels, as far as, you have to win a major or an elite or become a world champion to get to certain teams. And they've on and on gone and basically made exceptions to that, or completely ignored some of those long-standing rules and traditions that they've had on their team. So, I bet you there's a lot of behind-the-scenes stuff that we can only speculate on. And maybe all of this is completely up and up, happy, no big deal, because other than Lone Star Disc, they have the largest team, without a doubt. So maybe it is just we see so many people because it's scales,
Maybe.
So it's economy of scales. I mean, they have so many. We see so many people leaving because they have so many players. So, all right. So let's get to your Emerson Keith story. I enjoy it because I feel like I was right there along with you, because we were getting texts.
Yeah.
As you were sending these, and you were sending a screenshot, look what I did. And then he would respond back, like, check this out. And then he'd respond back again, and then check this out. And then you'd be like, okay, he kind of ghosted me for a little. Oh, he responded back. So it was enjoyable for me to watch these texts come through in our little text chat. So why don't you give us the story, and also the, kind of turmoil, if you're willing to share what you and I spoke about shortly after you made the first tweet. I'd love for you to go into that, because I think that gives insight into disc golf as a small, that small community that we all care about so much. So if you want to start, take it away.
Yeah, so I think like everybody in this small little niche kind of disc golf world, we're all kind of just following, the manufacturer carousel, if you will, if that's what you want to call it, because it's really what it is, and we pretty much will land somewhere. And I was just kind of looking at the contracts to kind of see who was where, what was happening. whose contracts were up, just kind of doing some speculating just as a kind of a fan and a contributor to the podcast. And one of the things that I had just kind of been noticing was different names, obviously, and Emerson Keith was on there on the list, and I was like, oh, that's weird. I up until about 2 weeks ago had thought that he wasn't going anywhere, just because I thought he was going to just kind of take a 1-year extension to get back on tour, just because of everything going on with, some stuff in his personal life, and just didn't really have a full season. I just kind of thought, okay, he's just going to kind of stay put. And then what was kind of weird is that I was on one of the Lone Star group pages. It was either the buy, sell, and flip page or the team page. And I saw that one of the owners of Lone Star was on there posting things about updates about the company and just what's coming, different plastic variations, just saying, oh, he was just commenting and just yeah, this probably isn't going to get a run in this plastic anytime soon. This might be restocked. So I clicked his page just to see other things that he was updating about Lone Star. And I just noticed that he only had 122 Facebook friends, which I genuinely think is just an anomaly. Everybody who's on Facebook seems to have way more than that.
Especially old guys.
Yeah, I mean, he's not even that old. I think he's in his 40s. So I wouldn't consider that necessarily old, but even still
well, thank you, Ben.
No one just has 120 Facebook friends unless it's your first 3 days on Facebook.
Yeah.
But I clicked it, and then I was like, there's only 122 friends. Let's do some snooping just to see. And my suspicion was right, and 2 of his 122 friends at the time were Emerson Keith and his wife. So I decided okay, well, we can either not look into it too much and just think, okay, Texas guy, or we can kind of do something about it. And I have no shame, not by any means in the world. So I just shot Emerson Keith a DM on Instagram. He was pretty cryptic about it, but we all could kind of read through the lines. And when I say all, we all, the 3 of us, definitely saw where this was going.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kind of kept getting the updates. I think you guys talked about that last week. It was kind of where things are at. Emerson Keith seems like he's going to have a few runs of signature discs. I don't know what that looks like. That's just kind of what I've seen.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, you talked about the Lariat was the one that I said he should throw, because I thought that would have been a nice slot for him, because I think he had the Explorer with Latitude,
Mm-hmm.
but it could be wrong.
Yeah, he did.
But then he said I should buy a lottery ticket, and that was kind of the nail on the nail in the coffin. And I was like, okay, here we are. And he never said anything don't say anything. He never didn't sign an NDA. There was nothing even remotely close to that. The conversation just ended with me saying, hey, congratulations, looking forward to watching you throw this year. And that was it. Nothing after that. So then I kind of this was late at night. I went to bed. The next morning I got up, did my routine, and then just sent out a tweet that just basically said, looks like Emerson Keith is headed to Lone Star. Don't know the terms of the don't know the details of the contract or when it will be announced. And just for fun, I was like, well, let's try and get this out there. So I tagged the foundation guys and a couple other people, and Hunter got it. And then it started getting some traction and started doing well. I then got a message on Facebook from somebody asking, basically not even to get into too many details because I'm not trying to hash anything out, but basically somebody sent me a message saying who are you? Why are you announcing this? You shouldn't be announcing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then that's when I called you, Shane, and I was like, I don't know what to do. I'm not being held to any sort of secrecy here or whatever. So I just kind of had a freak out, and then talked to a couple other people, and basically there was no obligation for me to keep anything quiet, quote unquote, or I had no obligation to keep it a secret.
Mm-hmm.
But then ended up happening is that this is also the day that Elon Musk was like deleting or suspending a bunch of accounts and deleting posts for people tweeting locations or things within the Twitter algorithm, specifically around his jet location. I used the term. In my tweet I said Emerson Keith is going to Lone Star. Those were words in there. And it got reported because it was apparently doxing because the algorithm pulled that as location.
Oh, okay.
So this all went down on Elon Jet Day. So my tweet ended up getting taken down. But then fast forward, that it ended up on Grip Locked, and they basically said that they had also alluded to the fact that the tweet got taken down, and then I would responded to Hunter basically saying my tweet was reported, ? So the tweet was out there. I have a screenshot of it. I put some more stuff online. But basically that kind of is how we got to where we were up until the other day. And I had been tweeting back and forth with the Lone Star account, having some decent banter with them. Just kind of saying things along the lines of kind of poking the bear a little bit, but other things that I had tweeted at them had gotten to, they basically said that they were not so thrilled that I had announced this. I'm just kind of looking back through some things right now. When I had mentioned about some other players that I thought would have been nice there, they had.
Yeah, I saw that you had said can we still be friends? And then he says, "We'll think about it."
That's kind of how that ended today. Was that they announced Emerson, and I said, "Does this mean we can be friends again?" And they said, "We'll think about." But it all started with when the Twitter banter, and I'll kind of wrap it up here. The Twitter banter started when PDGA Stats announced that Maria Oliva announced that she'll be parting ways with Innova. I said, I think she could be a good fit at Lone Star, and I tagged them, and they said that Lone Star said that would be cool. And this is also important to the story is that they never liked anything or engaged with my tweet as it was starting to get traction. Mm-hmm. So I think that they were having an internal debate on what to do. Mm-hmm. Because I have no ties to the company. I'm not on payroll. I'm not anybody. I mean, I'm on the Ranger team, but so are 800 other people, and other people were guessing names of who could go out there.
Yeah. And technically, officially not till January 1st, correct?
That's my understanding, and that's how I'm taking it.
Okay.
But yeah, so then basically the banter went back with Lone Star was like, oh, she's a good Texas player. It'll be fun to see where she ends up. And I said, secrets don't make friends, Lone Star. And he said, neither does announcing things to the public before they are official. This is 2 days ago, basically confirming that I was right without confirming I was right. Mm-hmm. And then I said, if you ain't first, you're last, Ricky Bobby.
I
think that's fantastic.
Because Ben's like,
and I said,
I need a witty response to whatever Josh said.
Yeah.
And then I just said I used deductive reasoning, confirmed my suspicion, and I actually made a lot of friends from that. Thank you.
Yes.
Said hype trains are fun. It's the main reason why everybody comes back. And then I said, so when is the one that I said last week that was reported on Twitter going to come out? And they said shrugging emoji. Then they announced it today, and I said, so then can we be friends again? And they said, we'll see.
I think that is an absolute fantastic way that Lone Star is handling this. Because I think they're being out with it and they're having fun with it. There's nothing malicious. They're not calling you out. They're not silencing you. They're engaging. And I think that's awesome. I really do.
And so this afternoon when they announced it at noon, mm-hmm. I tagged Ben on Instagram when they announced it, and they liked that I tagged Ben immediately.
Yeah.
And so I was like, that's cool.
Uh-huh.
Right. Uh-huh. Do you feel like this may have forced their hand a little? Do you feel, Ben? Do you think that they had to move it up because of all this speculation?
So the thing is that I think so, and I think it's in part because Emerson never officially announced that he was leaving.
Oh, that's
and
true.
Which is like it's just like the nature of what disc golf is, and we can talk about this in a little while when we go over some of our player stuff. I hate the way that disc golf is just, I don't want to say being run, but all these contracts are.
Mm-hmm.
Like I feel like the hybrid is just like, we need to get it. Like we could talk about it more, but I hate that like we have to have this I'm leaving period and then I'm going to sign period. Like,
but you know, that is a fairly new phenomenon though, because normally it's a, hey, I'm leaving this and then I'm going here, and it's like this one big announcement, and then, you know, that's how it had been in the past. I think this is a fairly new phenomenon. These last couple years, it's started to do this.
I think it's because of the way that agents are hired now, that they want it to be more professional.
Yeah,
and then negotiating. I do wish there was more of like an actual free agent period where like you leave a team.
We need a transfer window like soccer.
Yes, something like that. Or like, you know, there's reports like, oh, this, you know, team is negotiating with said player, and this, you know, someone's going to counter offer, like, you know, like true free agency that way. I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I think, you know, I think with what you did, and I think when you and I were talking on the phone, it had, you know, I was working through it just the same that you were as we were having a conversation. And I just said, you know, there is nothing private. We're not ruining anybody's lives. There's no victims in what you're saying. So in my humble opinion, and I think I said this directly, I was like, use it to build your celebrity. And I said, because you're not doing anything wrong. There is nothing wrong with this. You might ruffle, you might ruffle some people's feathers, but that doesn't mean you're doing something wrong. You know, I think when we talk about Hunter, and we're giving Foundation guys a lot of free publicity here, but I don't care. I see that as being something different because he had ends and ties to manufacturers and players and everything, and he was getting knowledge through sources that he probably should have never had them, whereas you're getting it directly through players. And I think this is the only way that we will talk about these things on this podcast is directly through these players. I think that'll be now a said rule, but I think that's been our unsaid rule, was if we know things but we don't, because there's a couple others that I know of, one for sure, and there's probably a couple others where we've heard grumblings that they're leaving teams or joining other teams. And we won't say anything because we haven't talked to those players yet. So, you know, I give you kudos for doing it. I love the fact that you have that resilience to push through all this cloud and fog that's in this disc golf media and actually kind of pick these things out.
Yeah, I appreciate that. I think one of the things that I just like to kind of wrap this up in the kind of the bow on it is I think like it goes back to what JP said of like, you know, I think part of it is like we're in this new age with agents and contracts, and I feel like with Emerson, he kind of wanted it to get out. I feel like he was a little lackadaisical on it because he's like, okay, well, I have to wait X amount of time now because I have to wait for this contract to expire. And I don't want to, I can't speak for him, but like the vibe I picked up was like, well, if it's going to get out, it's going to get out. And at this point, I don't care.
Right.
That's kind of like the vibe I got with it because he didn't say anything about it. He didn't make a statement on it. And I feel like he was just like, I'm buying my time with this contract and then Lone Star. Right. So like, that's just kind of how I felt about the whole thing.
Right. On. And officially, you're not doing it on behalf of the Night Owls podcast. You just happen to share the information with us.
Yep.
And we put it out there. But your tweet got, a huge amount. So speaking of your tweet, what did that do with your Twitter followers?
Oh, Twitter's the Wild West these days. I think I got like 8 followers.
Oh, okay.
It wasn't anything cool, but I got a lot of interactions and I got a lot of other, just kind of likes and people commenting and tagging people on it. So it was cool.
Cool.
Nice.
Cool.
So I reached out to Lone Star after, because I saw Ulti World had posted an article about signing Emerson, and they didn't have any contract like details besides like he's going to have a couple signature discs, which I think everybody did, but it's a year-long deal, just 2023, and they said it's because they want to be able to have negotiations, and this is from Josh, and be able to play to what they're worth, so they can renegotiate after then. Kind of like probably not like Innova, but because like they're more of a business, but like once you become part of Lone Star, I think you're kind of considered family almost.
I think so, yeah.
And so like having that negotiation is like a fair way of looking at and reevaluating after a year is done. So that'll be like Nico or anybody else that signs with them from now on.
Yeah, it seems like, and they signed a couple other like MP40. There was a gentleman I played with at Ledgestone, MP40, fantastic player, super awesome guy, great representative of what I'd assume Lone Star Disc is. So they're making some good moves, I think, and I like seeing the direction that they're going, and I hope they live up to the hype, because they're sure are putting out a lot of they're investing a lot into their team.
Right.
So
if Lone Star is a family, then I'm the redheaded stepchild right now.
I think that might be true at this point.
Hey, but you know what? They know who you are more than just one person on the Ranger team now.
Exactly. So when the next level of team comes up, like, what are they going to, I don't know. They're going to come up with some other team that's going to be some left field team, and you'll be the captain of that team. So, but no, you're making a name for yourself, and I appreciate it. I appreciate the fact that you're willing to put yourself out there and just say what you feel, say what you think, and present the information that's given to you. You're not putting it out there as fact. You're just putting it out there as information that you have collected. This is what I surmise. So,
yeah,
and if they're mad with that, they need to do a better job of keeping it under wraps.
Yeah, that's at the end of the day what it just comes down to is, someone trusted me with information, and I think at the end of the day, Emerson knew that it was going to get out. Like, that I had no obligation to it, and it happened. So
yeah,
here we are.
There was, normally it's don't touch a red button, someone touches it. There wasn't even anybody there not to tell you to touch a red button. So I think it's fair game in that regard.
They should just be happy that I didn't tweet what signature disc you get.
Yeah. Exactly. Hey, I've already said it. If it's the Lariat, I'm buying them. That is by far my favorite disc.
It sounds like he's getting 3, and that's just things that I've gathered around. That it sounds like he's getting a Lariat, he's getting a Dos Ex, and he's getting a Mad Cat. That's what I've
very nice.
Do that. The Lariat is the only thing that I think that we can confirm based on that, but based on things I've seen likes by people and Lone Star's interactions, those are the 3 that I've gathered. Now, and that I can't be certain on, like I am with that he was going to Lone Star. But take that for what you want.
Sure. Yeah. So, between Nico LaCastro and Emerson Keith, who's the better pickup for Lone Star?
Good question. I think Emerson right now, because I feel like the ceiling is so much higher. Like there's just so, like, he's young, like he's not an older guy. I don't even know how old he is, but he's like in his mid-20s. So I feel like there's more of a runway for him to kind of take off.
Yeah, and so he is the world's whisperer. So
pickup. Yeah, he pops off and finishes in top 10s out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
That's my reasoning. I think, like we've talked about Nico, you guys talked about Nico a ton on this podcast, and we don't need to get into more of it, but I feel like they picked up Nico at a discounted rate, and there's just a very good understanding and agreement of what each are going to provide each other.
Mm-hmm.
So I think Nico is a good pickup for the brand, but if you're just looking at tangible numbers of things, from a statistics standpoint, I think Emerson's the better pickup.
Okay. All right. I think I would agree with that. All right. So let's get into, we have a couple names highlighted. but we'll just run through the names and then we'll come back to our highlighted names for little snoops that we've done. So, AB leaving Innova, where do you think he's going? So we've given our opinion already. Where do you think?
I don't know. He is the mystery to me. I haven't ruled out Prodigy completely. I don't think it necessarily makes sense, but I feel like Prodigy's got money to spend. If they're not going to pick up an FPO player, then I could see him landing there. Now that's contingent on them not picking up an FPO player. He could end up at DGA. In my heart of hearts, I don't think he's going to end up at Discraft because he's been compared to Paul Macbeth for so long that I don't think he would make that move again. That's just me personally, and I think that there might be outside people if he has an agent or just other people in general. I don't think that that's a smart move for him.
Right.
So DGA is on there right now. I'd say I'm leaning towards Prodigy, but.
And I don't think he'll go to Prodigy because he hasn't announced his Friction glove sponsorship yet. So to protect his hands from the flashing. So I don't think he's gonna go.
They don't wear gloves in Arizona anyway.
Yeah, but he'll have to if he's throwing Prodigy. So all right, Maria Oliva.
I don't know if you can make that argument. Hold on, I don't know if you can make that argument because Drew Gibson's stuff doesn't have flashing.
That's true.
It's true.
Yeah,
it's true. No, honestly, we joke about it. I mean, I think that was something of the past. I just received, in that big lot that we had, there were some pretty nasty flashing issues on those discs that I picked up in Cincinnati, but those were an older run. I mean, they had an issue, they corrected it, and some of the stuff that's coming out now is beautiful. But it makes for a funny line.
Oh, for sure.
So Maria Oliva left Innova. Where do you think she's going?
Oh, Lone Star. I've been telling you guys for 2 weeks. I thought she was going to Lone Star even before she announced she was leaving.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you guys can vouch for me that I said that.
Yeah, and she's a highlighted name, so we'll get back to her. All right, Lisa Fakis left Innova. Where's she going?
She could be the FPO player going to Prodigy, because I don't think she's going to come at a high cost as far as like your salary cap. Mm-hmm. They need an FPO player. Something to prove. I mean, she's been in the mix at bigger events, hasn't been able to finish. She on the FPO team with Innova, obviously was pretty stacked, and it seems like on the FPO side with Innova, they're pretty content with Henna and Haley and Evelina. So I feel like now's the time for her to kind of step out on her own, and I could see Prodigy being a fit.
Okay. I like that idea, actually.
I do.
I think that's a good move for her because she will be at the top of the heap. She's just buried under the rest of the FPO.
I could see her signing with somebody like MVP too, though.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, I could see it really going anywhere, but I think Prodigy gives her the best chance to stand out unless she hits some of the new plastic, like she ends up going Castaplast or Clash or something like that. Because I think she's within Clash's budget.
Sure.
So, all right, Stacy Ronsley.
Yeah, that's a toss-up. I feel like with the FPO side, it's just kind of your guess is as good as mine.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that being a trilogy move. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what one. Pick a trilogy. Maybe a Latitude, but I'm not entirely sure.
Yeah.
I honestly couldn't make an educated guess.
Yeah. In honesty, I think she would be a hard one to place because I don't know if her marketability is really there. I mean, I could see her go to Infinite.
She is a fun personality. Like, I think she's there. I will say she's really good friends with Raven Klein and Holland Handley.
Yes.
And they're both DD, but I think it's not a big step to think that she could step into one of the trilogy brands.
Yep. Yeah, Raven Klein and Stacy were. I found one of Raven's discs, and she was playing about 3 holes behind us at Ledgestone, and I came back and gave Raven her disc, and all 3 of them on the card. I don't remember who the third person. It was a gentleman, and then those two, Stacy and they were the kindest, nicest. Like, they went nuts. They were just like having so much fun, and like it was obviously at the tail end of. Mass had just been not mandated and all that stuff. So they didn't give hugs, but they're like, I wish I could hug you. This is the greatest thing in the world. So I have really, really positive things to say about them. But once again, like you kind of said, they could really go anywhere.
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
Didi, I think, seems to be a pretty good choice.
I think, yeah.
All right. Proctor. James Proctor. I don't know enough about him to really say anything on where he may or may not go.
He is a pretty regional player, like out west. He did pop up on like a couple tour spots, stops this year. But I don't know enough about him either. But I know he's kind of big. He had a Metal Flake Max as his disc. Is it? But I mean, he could jump just about anywhere as well.
Right. You have any idea, Ben, or that's kind of a mystery to you?
Yeah, I think I'll just echo that. I don't know enough about him, but I feel like what I do know is that he would fit into a lot of different teams quite well. I think, but I couldn't make an educated guess as to where.
All right. So Erica Stitchcomb. How do you like how I spelled her name?
Yeah.
Erica Stitchcomb has left Westside, one of the 2 hot geese. And
sounds like not on her own accord.
No, that's what I've heard as well.
Okay. So it sounds
like she was kind of surprised by the move.
Oh, that sucks.
Yeah.
That's too bad. So we have her name highlighted. So we'll get back to having a conversation about her, but where is your speculation, Ben? Or do you know too much to say?
Based on the conversations, at this point, all signs point to one place. So I wouldn't want to throw out any other manufacturer just based on information we have. So that's JP's doing. So I'll let him take the reins on that one.
I agree. All right. And then Scott Withers leaving Discraft. So Scott Withers 2 years ago switched from Innova, or was it this year?
No, I think it was 2 years ago.
Was it 2 years ago? Okay. So 2 years ago switched from Innova and went to Discraft, and long-time Innova player, long-time Innova player. Said he was going to get more active on the touring scene. He had quit his job, and Discraft gave him the ability to do that, and it really never happened.
Yeah. And I think he kind of had something going with Resistance discs as well.
Yeah.
With like
and the Resistance is an exclusively Discraft dealer, right? Like Foundation used to be?
Yeah.
Okay.
They might be changing. Like, I know Adam Hammis has something going on with them, with Resistance, releasing, some exclusive discs through them. Scott, I mean, could he jump back to Innova? I don't think that's out of the realm of possibility.
I wouldn't see that being out of the realm either. I think that might be not a bad choice for him. Whether Innova would take him back or not, that's a whole nother story. But if he left on good terms, why not? So, great player, really good player, just doesn't tour enough.
Yeah.
So,
I'm gonna go with Millennium.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think that's a bad choice either. You sure it's not Ching or Lightning?
They don't.
Heiserbomb?
Yeah, Heiserbomb. Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, like, if he threw Innova for a very long time, Innova makes Millennium discs. They don't really have a name other than Calvin throwing a Draco. If that company is willing to spend something, I mean, he's not gonna break the bank for you.
No. The only other, it could be another California like Legacy really needs to do something to bring somebody on, and I know that him and Rico know each other pretty well. Well, from what I understand, him and Rico know each other pretty well. I don't know that they do, but I'd like to see that because Legacy needs somebody because they have good plastic. They have good plastic. I don't know about their molds and their discs as far as like stability wise for pros and things like that, but Rico throws them and he can throw pretty far. So let's get back to Maria Oliva. and I'll let you take over.
Who, me?
You
Okay,
and me?
So, yeah, I mean, like, Ben threw it out there for a while. He's like, Texas native, like, signs could point to her going there. So I DM'd her today on Instagram, and I just said, hey, super excited for your announcement. And then I followed up with, if you had to choose between a bird, would it be a grackle, which is a mint disc fairway, or a mockingbird?
Yep.
And she came back with mockingbird, exclamation point.
Yep.
And I just kind of like had this emoji of like big eyes. And then I said, you rock. Are you announcing soon? She hasn't answered me back, but I would think that that's a pretty good sign that it's going that way.
That's a pretty blatant statement to say between the two Texas companies. That's what I like better. Now they could be going to Black Zombie.
Right.
So
she could be throwing me off too.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
I think signs would definitely point. It seemed like it could be pointing that way.
Yep. So yeah.
Hey, if I go 2 for 2.
I agree. I think you should get some sort of role somewhere for that. We'll give you recognition. How about that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, does that say that Lone Star just leaves their cards on the table too much, or am I just good? Like, I genuinely want to know, because I feel like I'm just like, this is just falling into my lap.
I think the Emerson Keith one is them not keeping information as tight to the chat, as they should. The Maria Oliva thing, I think, is kind of like a shot in the dark, but like a really good shot in the dark.
Right.
Like, yeah, I don't know.
I would agree with that. I kind of second that. But what we have to do is just keep them guessing. So the next person we assume is going to Lone Star, since you're on the blacklist, now JP's going to be on the blacklist. I'll have to message the next person and see if they'll answer me. All right. Erica Stitchcomb.
Yeah, this is another good one.
She sounds like she's been dropped, like we had just talked. I really enjoy this conversation. This is fantastic.
Yeah. So I also reached out to Erica after hearing that the West Side, saga, and mine keeps thinking about the two hotkeys. Her and Madison Walker. Honk. And so I DM'd her as well. I said, honk if you think that there will be two hotkeys at MVP. And I thought she'd get smart with me and be like, oh, yeah, of course we're going to show up to MVP.
Yeah.
Like Maple Hill is one of my favorite courses or something like that. She sends back ... And then I like the heart it. And she's like, sorry, no spoilers. And then I just go honk. And so like conversation ended there. And then hours later, she sends back 2 duck emojis.
Yeah.
I was like, there's no geese emojis on.
You checked.
I checked. So, I mean, for me, that's a sign that things might be happening with MVP.
Okay.
Like her and Madison, like with the 2 hot geese.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of feel that way.
Yeah. And I kind of browsed through Instagram and everything. There's nothing giving anything away. I tried to go on Twitter, and neither of them were really that active on Twitter. So
I was going to reach out to Madison too, just be like, so I hear there's rumblings of 2
you should do like, hey, congratulations. I hear Erica's going to MVP. And see if she's like, I know, I'm so excited. Play that game.
Right. Maybe for next podcast.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. So Ben, what do you think? You think MVP is kind of the sure lock-in, shoe-in?
It seems very, I don't want to say identical, but it seems very similar to the Emerson Keith situation as far as our conversations go. So at this point, I have no reason to believe she's going anywhere else. The only ripple or thing that might be thrown in is that maybe she's being represented by Axiom, where she's carrying the Axiom brand or the Streamline brand.
Yeah, I can see that. Right. But under the same umbrella.
Yeah.
And it kind of goes along with it'd be great because like it would kind of be like the Big Germ Sexton situation as far as like being under the same manufacturer and the same, company.
Right.
So I think that's a good connection.
Yeah. And I think, I mean, with Erica, like, if there is a brand that she would be most familiar with their molds, obviously she tours. So
Yeah, like her. Yeah,
I mean, they're in the same van.
They're
I'm
close.
sure she
Yeah.
throws, over molds. She's familiar with them, and she has the appropriate person to help her walk her through the molds. And so, yeah, I think it would be the smartest move, probably the quickest move for her to go from West Side to, and I mean, think about it. Like, she had access to the Zion and the Gobi and the.
that's true. Oh, that's
I doubt she ever threw those.
no. I think
So, all right. Well, Ben, do you have anything else for us within player speculation?
The only thing that I had heard, and I don't think that there's really any merit to it anymore, the more I dig in, was that Paige Shue might have been going to MVP, Axiom, Streamline. But I feel like everybody's just guessing at this point, and I feel like she's doing a very good job of letting no one know.
Yeah.
So props to her.
I kind of want to talk to her.
Yeah.
Like after she did announce, I'd like really want to like get her on.
So I've had over the years, because every time she comes out with a judge, I always hit her directly and buy it directly from her. So I have a small not relationship, but a small
consumer relationship.
Yeah, familiarity with her. So
yeah.
I'll do that one. I'll reach out to her.
That'd be cool.
If you hear this, Paige, don't. Well, I guess if you hear this, oh well. I'll text you really soon. How about that? I think where people are getting the MVP thing from is that she talks about the consistency of flight and
the unique flight.
And the unique flights. And I think everybody talks about that, they're like, well, MVP and Axiom have consistent unique flights, comparably speaking. And I think they do. I think they do. So I think that's accurate. So I think people are really digging in and pushing, like double downing on that. So
yeah, who knows? Only time will tell.
Right.
That's right.
Oh, I know. I was going to ask you.
I'll
I'll finish your thought, Ben, and then I'll ask after.
all I was going to say was we're about 8 weeks away from LVC, so time's ticking on these pros to figure it out for us, because it's about us, not about them.
Rightfully said.
Yeah.
Man. Rightfully said. So I will be at LVC, and I will do my best to try to get firsthand information and reactions from these people and see if I can pull anything out of them or get them to commit to going on the podcast. So, all right, Ben, let's throw out your socials.
What were you going to say, JP?
I was going to ask.
And more?
No. Like, this is just a question about the way Lone Star is announcing players. We last year saw the big, like, kind of over the top announcements with like Ricky and Kona. Other companies are doing videos like, like we're making this big production of like, signing a big name player. With Lone Star, do you feel like the way the company is structured behind the like working class of like the oil rig components and stuff, that they're not going that route because they are grounded in the way that they do business? Like, they're not willing to like splash and like make a big deal because like they're hardworking and like blue collar, and like they just are like, we're just going to announce players how we announce them. And I don't know. It's kind of like,
I think my thought just comes from that it's just Josh Hofstra doing their marketing. And I don't think it's that Josh necessarily doesn't want to do big things. I think he does. I think right now, the fact that up until like 5 days ago or a week ago or something, it was him running all the teams, the Ranger team, and then doing the marketing. And there's like 5 or 6 employees within the company as far as on the disc golf side, maybe less.
okay.
So I don't think it's that they don't want to do like bigger things when it comes to their player announcements. I just don't think that there's enough hours in the day
Sure. That makes sense.
to be able to produce these things and run marketing and manage 800 Ranger team members.
Yeah.
Right. So my utopian idea is that they are taking the stance that there is no one player bigger than the team.
Okay. Yeah.
That's a very utopian idea, but it seems if they're humble and grounded, maybe that's what they're doing.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because I think the biggest splash they made is with Nico, and that was simply because Josh was following him around with his phone, and he was constantly live on Twitter and Facebook and things like that.
Yeah.
Or Instagram and Facebook and things like that. That's all just speculation. The opposite side of what Ben said.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, Ben, you want to share your socials?
You can follow me on Twitter for all your mediocre disc golf takes at Ben Kurowski. Ben Kurowski. You can follow me on Instagram at Ben Kurowski 164995. I do not have an OnlyFans, so just subscribe to JP's.
Yeah. There you go. Look at that. I don't even have to bring it up this week. All right, Ben. Well, I appreciate it very much, and I'm sure we'll talk to you soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
See you. All right. Hope you enjoyed that with Ben. So we're going to move on to our random question now. So it is just the two of us again. So random question. Have you ever solved a Rubik's Cube?
No, I have not. I have gotten maybe like a side or two or three, like completely solved, but I still have like, another one that's got like 3 or 4 of like one color together. And then the closest I ever came was, just taking the stickers off and putting them on or like taking it apart, because like the little squares can come off and like putting it back together that way. I've watched videos of like diagrams of how to solve it. Like you turn, certain rows a certain way, turn it the other way, and like you can solve it really quickly. I've also watched these kids or even adults as well solving them behind their back, or the speed runs, like they like study it, put it down, and then it's kind of a cup stacking.
Okay, there you go.
That's what I was trying to get out.
Yeah,
tongue twister there. They just examine it, put it down, and then like do it.
Isn't it nuts?
It's crazy.
Like the world record's like 3 or less. It's sub 3 seconds now.
Oh yeah, it's crazy. And I saw a guy. There's another video I saw of a guy juggling 3, and he's like looking at them, and he's like turning them in his hand with one hand and like throwing them up, and he's just making sure. I think he kind of like focuses on the middle one, so he knows when it lands in one hand, or he focuses. He has focus on one while it's in the air. Something he's able to do it. And it's like holy cow! Like the amount of math that has to go in your head to figure out. Okay, there's so many squares, so many like turns, so many colors like lined up. It's like, it's nuts.
Yeah. The algorithm is something that is very fascinating to me because depending on what stage you are in solving it, there's a different algorithm and it's what rows you turn in what directions. And there's a process like 4, 6, 8 step process and then repeatable processes to move your block to wherever you need to. I brought that up because I've solved prior to a week ago. I solved 3 times.
Oh, wow.
Never knew how I did it. It was just, I would sit there, and this was just probably within the last 4 years. I would sit there watching TV and I would just solve a side and look, didn't do it. Turn it over. I'd solve a side, look at it, didn't do it. So I would solve 1 or 2 sides thousands of times, and then every once in a while I would just all of a sudden it would be solved and you'd be like, that's awesome. I don't know how I did it, but all of a sudden you're like, yes, it fell together. And then I sat down about a year ago and watched tutorials on how to solve it. And then I was able to solve it 1 or 2 more times just by tutorials, like, hey, if you have it here, this is what you should do. And kind of figured it out that way. And then last week, because I have this fascination, like I want to be good at solving it. And I think it's just good for my brain to play with these things. So I have like Rubik's Cubes over by my desk and things like that. And I just play with them. I don't know anything about them or how to do it. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to truly educate myself how to do it. So I found these things called Go Cubes.
Oh.
And on my phone, it mirrors what I do with my Rubik's Cube.
Huh.
It is the coolest thing I've ever seen. So there's motion sensors in it.
Yeah.
And in the motion sensors, or in the thing, you kind of like calibrate it and it shows on your phone. So however you're holding it, you twist it, turn it, move a block, it shows it on your phone. And the cool thing about it is the app that comes with these things, it does like games and tutorials on how to solve these things.
Okay.
It is the coolest thing in the world. So I bought a 2x2 and a 3x3.
Nice.
It is the coolest thing in the world. Like, I've been fascinated every night, probably 2 hours a night. Like last night, this morning, I had to get up at like 4 a.m. Speaking of, it's 10 o'clock.
Yeah. I know, like the bedtime reminder just popped up on my phone 20 minutes ago or whatever.
Yeah. Mine's 11 is when my bedtime reminder comes on. But I went to solve, I sit down for probably 2 hours and just go through these apps. So I sit there with this thing, and the battery life on it is incredibly long because I haven't charged it since I got it. And it's been like a week and a half, and I've been playing with it for about 2 hours a night.
Okay, so I'm intrigued by this. So it can sense whatever cube you're using, and it knows the positions of the colors and
It
like
knows
everything?
exactly the positions of colors and everything. So
That's
you have
crazy.
to calibrate it every time you open the app.
Yeah,
You have to set it down, white face, green face in front, white on top.
Okay.
And then that red has to be on the right side. And then you just push the calibration button on your phone or on your iPad or wherever you're doing it.
So it can't be mixed when you're...
It can be mixed.
Oh, it can,
because it's done by the center.
Got it.
Because those never change.
Got it. Okay.
So as long as those three center points, the white, the green, and the red, are oriented the way they should be, you just calibrate it. And then from there, it knows exactly where everything is.
Awesome.
It's the craziest thing in the world. It is so neat. Like, and it's just like, it's this beautiful like harmony of no technology integrated with technology, and it's just so fun to do it. And then you play games, like you can race people to solve a puzzle.
So there's like leaderboards and stuff?
Leaderboards, all that stuff. And they have like national competitions and championships. It's like really cool. I'm nowhere close to being able to do that. But I've gotten to a point where I can solve a Rubik's Cube now, just with this app over the last week, where I can solve a Rubik's Cube now probably in like 7 to 10 minutes.
Wow.
And that's awesome.
That is awesome.
Because it took me weeks before, you know. So I'm hoping that I want to get it down to like under 3 minutes.
Okay.
So I don't know why this is such a big deal to me, but
it's pretty cool.
So, but Go Cube, like
Go Cube.
It is super cool, super cool. And they have the 2x2 and the 3x3, and they have like an old school 3x3, and then they have, and when I bought it, they didn't have the old school 3x3. They just had the new 3x3, which is a speed cube, which is a little like greasier. It's easier to move.
Huh.
And in between all the colors is LEDs.
Oh, wow.
So like it'll actually light up if you want it to and all that stuff. I have all that turned off. It's just a Rubik's Cube, but it'll make sounds. I mean, it has a speaker in it. Like, it's really neat, but it functions really, really well. Like super well. So
Christmas present next year.
yeah, that's what when I saw it, it was just one of those like, yeah, I'm gonna buy it, And I mean,
is this something you found at like a Brookstone or like Sharper Image or something?
Instagram?
Oh, okay.
Because that's the stuff I look at on like Instagram and stuff. It's always like these, very much like what's that guy's name? The engineer.
Is this the guy that makes like the flex tape?
No. Rober, Mark Rober.
Oh, okay.
Like those are the type of stuff I like watching. You know, it's just weird. Like they're kid things, but I'm like, dude, that's cool. I'll watch an Instagram video of that, and then I go on to the next thing, and it's who knows what it is, but a lot of times it's these like goofy things. So, all right. Anything else to say about Rubik's Cubes?
No.
All right. So shop updates, get freaky zones. I have a ton of them on the website. I think I put up 29 of them the other day.
That's awesome because I'm in the market.
Good. Yeah, I have a lot. And There is one that has this like Pepto-Bismol pink.
You showed it to me.
Dude, it is so... I've never seen a stamp like it before. It is so cool. Like the color of the stamp and the way it sits on... I think it was, green on...
Like a greenish yellow or... It kind of reminded me...
It's like a Dayglow green, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Like a... I was thinking like strawberry lemonade kind of deal almost or something like that.
Yeah, it's really cool looking. And then PM Line Maltas. I think I put up 52 of those ones on the site. Captain's Raptors, so 2021s and 22s. So the 22s are on their way. We won't have them in hand yet, but I got the tracking number for them.
And those are ESP, right?
Those are ESP. And then I have 107 21s, which are the Z line.
And you originally sold out of them when they came out.
Yeah, originally. So I think I had about 60 of them. We originally sold out of them.
The Crystal
I had less
Flex,
than 60.
The zones. Oh, yeah, I'm definitely in the market.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. They're the Crystal Flex Z. Yeah. Get freakies. And then Birdie Disc Golf Games. We have Door Disc Golf beanies and much, much more. I mean, so much more that every day I go in there and spend about 2 hours in the shop just inputting. Because I go in there and I'll fill orders, send those out, and then spend an hour or so just inputting discs. So, but the Maltas will be up online tomorrow. Get Freaky, tomorrow, Thursday. So by the time you hear this, they're online.
Yeah.
Get Freaky zones are already up there. Captain Raptors, the 2021s, I'll hopefully get up there by Friday. And if you order, no, it's too late. If you ordered Wednesday, I'll probably be able to get it to you before Christmas, but probably not anymore now.
I was going to say, we're very busy in poster world with the crunch coming down. And like for sure, it would have been like Tuesday or today that you would get like pretty, like you'd be cutting it close to get it by Christmas for sure.
Yeah. But so now I'm not making that guarantee anymore. So,
okay.
And then we will be sending out to Caxpax. He's gotten back to me, and so has Philip. So we will get both of those out there. I'll reach back out to you an email here probably tomorrow morning and then let you know what I'm sending you. Thank you for the emails. And Caxpax, I will get back to you. I've just been on a pretty crazy streak here for busyness, but I will get back to you here real shortly and answer some of the questions you had. But outside of that, we've already asked you about your OnlyFans, so good job, Ben. Thank you. You have anything else to share?
Oh, I just want to say thank you. We got a couple more reviews on Apple Podcasts and a couple more ratings, so that definitely helps with our visibility within the podcast community because there are a bunch of disc golf podcasts popping up.
Right.
And I did promise a disc to. So we got. The newest review came on Friday, and that was by Ziggy B94. So if you reach out to our Instagram, like DM us, or if you email Shane, I will get you something.
Yep, and that's throw@doordisc.com or door_disc_golf or night_owls_pod. So hit us up on any of those or Facebook. It doesn't matter. As long as you contact us, go ahead. And then we will be more active on the Door Disc Golf store on Facebook. We're going to start posting a lot more of the podcast stuff on there. So I think outside of that, if you like us, if you like what we're doing, just rate us, review us, because it helps us kind of climb to the top of those notifications when someone puts in disc golf. A lot of these new podcasts that are popping up, love them. I subscribe to a ton of them, but they seem to be like 3 or 4 episodes and they kind of disappear, some of these new ones. So if you like the consistency, just keep rating us and keep reviewing us.
Other podcasts that you listen to is on hiatus or whatever.
Yeah.
So
like
let us fill that spot.
One of my absolute favorite podcasts is the Disc Golf Podcast. It's fantastic. I love those guys, Robin and Joe. They've been hit or miss. I mean, they've been going through some awesome life changes. Yeah. But they're just not making episodes. So, hey, we're here for you.
Yeah, exactly. Not as much cussing.
Yeah, exactly. Not enough.
And no beer.
Yeah, no beer. No deer reviews. But yeah, so if you like us, rate us, review us, and then we'll catch you, I guess, next week.
Yeah, I mean, Christmas. So
Yeah.
happy holidays, Merry Christmas
Yeah.
to those who are, if you celebrate something else.
Yeah, we celebrate something else. Merry Christmas from me as well. And then we will see you next week for our New Year's episode, I guess. What that'll be.
Man, we're coming up on 1 year too.
that
That's crazy? Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we're over 80 episodes.
Well, yeah, with Monday, we haven't done a Monday episode in a while. But,
No.
Yeah, we're up there.
Yeah. And I think when season comes back, we'll probably do another Monday
Yeah.
episode because we have so much to talk about during the regular episode because this is already running on almost an hour and we didn't even have that much to talk about. But I guess we did with all the player stuff and Ben. And but yeah. And then look forward to some slight changes in the podcast. It won't be anything that will change probably format or what we talk about, but you might hear another voice, just maybe.
Yeah.
So, but we'll leave that as a surprise. All right? Because this person doesn't even know yet.
Yeah. They don't.
They don't until they know. They'll probably know by the time they hear this. But
They could, yeah.
yeah. But we'll
That's
figure it
only
out.
Friday. So.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. We got 2 days to announce
Yep.
it or to have the conversation.
Exactly.
But if not, it'll be a mystery out there. So, all
Hopefully
right.
better than mystery boxes.
Exactly. And then we will be also adding another feed, or excuse me, we will be adding to this feed another style of podcast. Be a short 15 minutes, so it'll be similar to what we were doing with the Mondays, but less slapsticky, more inspirational. Don't know what the format is or who the hosts will be as of yet. I know I'll be in it, and then from there, who knows?
We're gonna have a Night Owls podcast network.
I know. See, foundation.
Ooh,
What you got on us?
Yeah. Tour disc golf.
Speaking
Podcast
of, we got to tag them in this because of Ben.
Yes.
Make sure to tag Foundation
Yes.
in it. I'll hit them up on Twitter. You can hit them up. Do you have a Twitter account?
No, I don't have Twitter.
Okay. But I'll hit them up through Door Disc Golf on Twitter, and I'll have Ben tag them on Twitter,
Yeah.
and then we'll tag them on Instagram
Okay.
too. So then they can hear the true conversation since they didn't message him back
Yeah.
when they spread it as tweet. Spread it.
Hopefully they listen.
I think they do.
Okay.
'Cause I think they pull ideas from us. Have you ever heard their podcast after we talk?
It is
And
true
then
because they do talk about some things after we discuss it the week before. But
It's okay. We don't charge them for it. We're
No.
good with it. Just give us credit.
Yeah.
It's like plagiarism a little bit, Joking. There's just not enough to talk about in the disc golf world, and this is...
add us to your network
Yeah.
or something like that.
I don't know. Maybe, do they want to be on our network?
Oh, maybe they want to be part of our network.
Yeah, I like that too. So, all right. Have a good one. Keep us up, par. Peace.